Where's my boy Hutch at, huh? Oh, we're gonna talk to Hutch? He is our boy. He is our boy. We're gonna talk to Hutch, I think. No Drew debate. We're organizing something. Don't get me started on the Drew stuff. I can't talk about the Drew stuff just yet, but we're trying to organize something. It's absolutely absurd. You guys are dooming so hard, holy shit. Asraka, thank you so much. We start in a second. What up, everybody? Hope everyone is doing well this wonderful Wednesday. It's Wednesday, my dudes. Hang on a second. I just gotta fix something real quick for y'all. Do a little share. Cool. Is everyone doing okay? Are you guys all chilling? Okay. We gotta talk. Some stuff happened. Some things happened. I'm not gonna actually show the shots, but we're going to get right up to before that and describe a little bit about what's happening and what occurred. Wow, thank you so much, Matt. Wow, 20 subs. Thank you, Matt NLT. Appreciate you. And KCJ from LNY from Linny. What up, nerd? Speak the truth. He says, fuck ICE, fuck these people. Don't like cops. All right, well, I just want to be completely objective and analytical about what's happening here. And then hopefully we'll talk to Hutch in a second. We are going to go after, thank you again, gifted memberships, gifted subs. Really appreciate it. A lot of stuff happening this week. Very much appreciate your support. I'm going to mute the alert just for now so we can get into it. But I really do appreciate the support. Word war debate this week. I'm putting up the hype video that we had with Ryan Mullally where I crush him. I'll put that up like either tonight or tomorrow morning, so you guys can give it a like if you want. We're in discussions with Drew Pavlu about something perhaps more exciting, but it is an insane, ridiculous back and forth that hopefully at some point I'll get his permission, or it'll be required for me to reveal the. I don't like to leak DMs or like what's in them or anything, so I'll probably ask him if it's okay. If it ends up happening, if what happened, or explain why it can't happen. But it's just an insane set of messages and shit. So that's the update on that. Very much appreciate all the support. Hope you stay safe, everybody. Okay, cool. Let's first talk about the facts as we know them. So today there was a news account earlier that a woman had died after an encounter with ICE. There was an uncorroborated sort of eyewitness account which suggested that this woman was in a car that she either blocked or was in front of some ICE vehicles, and that ICE shot and killed her and basically shot a bunch of shots into her car. The falsely, I don't want to say it. How do I say it? The liar. I think it's clear at this point we can say the liar, Trisha McLaughlin, who is this employee from the DHS. She's some assistant secretary for something. She's basically their hired PR gun, who is this like dead-eyed 30-year-old something woman who just as a job lies to the American people and misconstrues things. It's not even just me saying it. It's multiple courts that have uncovered and have put to bed a lot of claims that Tricia McLaughlin has made, to say nothing of ICE and DHS in general. But in response to these news accounts, and maybe to get ahead of the story, DHS said, well, this was a terrorist action, that our ICE officers are brave and they acted in heroic self-defense to a terrorist action, and what they construed as terrorism, that basically a woman was trying to run over ICE agents, and in self-defense, with thankfully no injuries, serious injuries or anything like that, they were required to and forced to reasonably defend themselves and killed her. That was the kind of the narrative that was initially given from DHS before all of the evidence came out. And I had said, as you should always do, is to wait for evidence before you believe anything that this woman says. This is Tricia McLaughlin. Dead eyes. Eyes completely devoid of anything. This is what I mean by dead-eyed. No life. Right? No sparkle, no, maybe that's just like a personal thing, but that's what I think. Real quick, I'm just gonna make sure this doesn't go over I just wanna not get in trouble, potentially. Showing this. Okay. And then we'll do this. And I'll mute it, and I'll put the playback slow so we can see the important parts. Okay. Okay. So that's what we were finding out from the government. They were claiming, but we shouldn't believe the government. And then the videos started to come out. And what the videos show is, without a doubt, the government is lying. Because even if you can construe what we're about to see, some of what we're about to see, and I encourage you guys, if you want to see more angles, they're readily available on Twitter. You can go to my Twitter page and you can see exactly what I'm looking at here. Whatever you want to construe, even if you come out on the side of this is a justified shooting, which I think is, of course, ridiculous. But even if you were to come out that way, you have to acknowledge that at a bare minimum, the government is lying about what's going on here. Okay? And let's first start with acknowledging what this is not. This is not an analysis of whether or not what this woman in this car, in this red car that you're looking at right now, did, whether she did the smart thing, whether she did the ethical thing, whether she is breaking any kind of law by being where she is. It's not that kind of analysis. It's certainly not just examining whether under best practices, if you were in a similar situation, you should behave like she is. It is not condoning any attacks against ICE. It's not condoning any illegal activity whatsoever. You need to make sure that if you're ever in conversations with people about these kinds of events, that you understand what you're talking about. I have no patience whatsoever for conservatives who try to derail, like they did, by the way, with George Floyd, the George Floyd murder, which also occurred in Minneapolis, and which I will use as a reference point a couple times during this conversation or during this little analysis that I'm doing. I have no patience for derails, and you shouldn't either. If someone is trying to talk about, well, wasn't it stupid? Shouldn't you stop when someone who purports to be from the government and appears to be from the government tells you to stop pursuant to some kind of lawful authority or to a show of force? You can grant that and be like, that's not what I'm talking about. Right? It's not what we're talking about, is whether she should have stopped, whether she should have tried to flee, whether she should be there in the first place, whether you should be fucking around with ICE at all. That's not what we're talking about at all. And you don't have to grant absurd things like ICE are Gestapo scum, therefore we should do XYZ to them no matter what, and everything's justified. I'm saying the entire thing, that entire thing, like where we both construe them as Gestapo scum. I think that the organization is, you can characterize them to Gestapo reasonably, but that's my political opinion. But what's not justified is for you to grant, well, then therefore it's like fair game to go after them. You don't have to grant that, and you shouldn't grant that. It's not a conversation about that. It's not a conversation about, in general, should you have the ethical justification to go after these people? I don't agree with that, and you don't even have to get into that. You just need to be clear about what you're talking about. What we're talking about here is A, the claims of the government, and B, whether or not we think what we're about to watch is justified under use of force doctrines, under the law of deadly force and self-defense, or whether we think this is murder. Those are the constellations of things that I'm examining right now. The political stuff is relevant. It feeds into our overall sense of the picture. And it might even have some bearing on the states of minds of some of the relevant actors here. But what it isn't is what we're doing right here, an analysis of that auxiliary stuff, the stuff that's collateral to the fundamental thing that we're watching. Is this a justified use of force? That's what we're looking at. Okay, cool. So let's start with this video. So lights flashing. I think a reasonable person can think that this is the government. Now, they are masked. They are masked. But in this situation, in broad daylight, in front of all these different cameras, I'm going to assume as someone that this is the police. Unmarked vehicle. Tactical gear. This woman is waiting, right? Waiting for the cop, the law enforcement to come over. Hand out the window. No sign of any weapons or anything that we can see from this angle. Hand goes onto the driver's, the steering wheel. And you see him. What is he doing here? What is this? Maybe he's calling forth his friend. What is he doing? Do you guys see this? What is this action that the cop is doing? On the right. Chatters. Now, I think from this perspective, he looks over to the left, then he looks at her, and then he waves. I don't know. I think from this angle, it's kind of hard to tell. Perhaps directing members of his unit, perhaps signaling to her. You can see the tires here are angled towards the left, right? Clearly. And now a man approaches the window, or approaches the driver's side. Words are actually exchanged here. Let's see if we can actually hear. I'm gonna put on the sound so we can actually hear what is said there. Go around. That's what she's saying. Go around. Go around. Get out of the car. I don't know if I can hear this muffled thing, but she said you can certainly, or there's someone says go around. Perhaps not her. Get out of the fucking car. No! Doesn't seem like the person who is holding the camera, because she's coming in louder, said go around. All right. But anyway, let's go back to, I think this is the only. No! Okay. That's the audio, but let's slow down a little more. Okay. Walking. Guy comes over. The wheels are clearly angled to the left. She backs up. Now, here is where it's useful to talk a little bit about self-defense and deadly use of force. The government is justified to use the force in the commission of their duties, but the application of force must always be reasonably necessary under the circumstances. Okay. Reasonably necessary. And that is always on, both as a matter of federal law, but I'm sure as a matter of policy, whatever the official policy, wherever that's stated, but as a matter of constitutional law, the application of force sometimes can even constitute a seizure under the law. And the use of deadly force is considered a seizure. You're seized. Okay? So the things that justify deadly use of force for an officer is either a threat to serious bodily injury or death, imminent, right? Imminent threat to serious bodily injury or death, and or commission and fleeing from a kind of like a specified list of inherently dangerous crimes. You know, you're fleeing the scene from some armed robbery or some shit, or some aggravated situation. Those are the certain situations in which deadly force is justified, and it's necessary to stop an ongoing threat. So none of this there's no reason to believe any of that has occurred up to this point. Okay? There is no, and just keep in mind, just because you're in a car doesn't turn off the analysis. There are cases in which a car has been considered the use of deadly force, but not all the time, right? So you need to constantly remind yourself that these self-defense cases are very fact-specific, and you have to break it apart almost like it's like a timeline, like a timeline of events. What did a reasonable officer in this person's position know at the time? What did they think at that time? All right. At this point, there is no indication that this woman is a threat to serious bodily injury or death. And she's certainly not attempting to run over anyone as she's backing up. Okay? Is this a crime? Almost certainly a crime. Is this advisable? Almost certainly not. I would also, this is me. I would recommend people, not do this at all. But that's not what we're looking at. We're looking at the deadly force inquiry, whether at this time this person represents a threat to serious bodily injury or death. Okay? Backing up, stops, wheels, again, aligned to the left. Why are they aligned this way, right? She's backing up to prepare what, right? Do we think that she's backing up with the intention of ramming? Think about it, right? When does she start to back up? She starts to back up when she is approached and they try to get into her car. I think someone in this position, right? Officers in this position would think, oh, she's trying to get away, right? She's trying to leave. Hence, she's backing up to give herself an angle so that she can leave. That's what it appears that she is doing. Is she going to ram these people because she wants to kill them right now? No. So as you're approaching this car, it looks like they're trying to get her and she's trying to leave. There's no one behind her. Yeah, exactly. So she's backing up. Back it up. She does so. Hence, and what is she back? She's backing up in a particular direction, right? She's not backing up in with the intent to ram from the sort of right position relative to her car into the cops. She's backing up towards the left to prepare to turn right. That's why the wheels, people say, oh, look, the wheels are aligned to the left. Yeah, that's as she's backing up. So those of you who have driven a car before, what would you expect if she's trying to turn to the right? What would you expect her to do to accomplish that next? What would you expect her to do? If you wanted to turn right, what would you be doing? Yeah, she's trying to flee. What action as a driver? Yes. High clears got it. You start turning the wheel, right? You start turning the wheel. So what would we expect to happen for someone who's turning to the right? For her to turn the wheel and for the wheels to what? For the wheels to do what? And then the wheels turn right. Yeah, yeah. The wheels will start to align themselves and then turn to the right. This is what we would expect for someone who is trying to flee. And again, so far the indications seem to be that she's trying to flee. You have the eventual shooter, this cop right here, I guess he has a mohawk, I can't quite tell, is filming with his phone, maybe taking evidence or whatever of the license plate or what have you. All right, but the car is backing. It's clearly backing up. Okay. And now what do the wheels do? The wheels turn right. And it's unmistakable. It's so clear. And this is right around when the first shot is going to be fired. To me, it is clear as day that she's turning to the right. Just look at the fucking wheel. Now, here is what is not a per se rule, just so you guys, if anyone hears it. The fact that the car makes contact with a police officer does not give a per se justification to shoot someone with deadly force. Find the citation for that. Find it. You can't find it. So the mere fact that you have contact with the car, which there's a video from a different angle which shows the officer making contact with the car or, you know, it bumping into him, doesn't show that his life is at a risk of serious injury or, you know, or he might die. Because it's not the case. It's not the case that this guy's life is at risk. And anyone who is serious knows it. But what's more, even putting that aside, and I don't want to show, we'll see how far I can go. I don't want to actually show the shooting in video. Oh, here we go. I'll just stop it at the relevant times. All right, perfect. So this is the time at which you can see the smoke from the gun. Right here. The car's path is clearly going to the right, not towards the officer there. So the question you have to ask yourself is, do you think this woman was trying to run over the cop who is now to the left of the car by turning to the right? Do you think that that's what she was trying to do? And do we think that this officer would have seen her banking hard to the right? Of course he would have. He would have seen her moving the steering wheel to the right, away from him. And there's a bunch of case law of different shootings in different contexts and different deadly force use after like high speed chases. And again, I will only entertain people who bring up these cases when they come on Voice, because every time people will bring this up, it's almost always inapposite. It's after a long and high speed dangerous chase that just occurred. It's this person they know to be like someone who just like robbed something. So seriously, the people who want to bring up case law and go through it, you can. I am going to address it if you come on Voice. That's when I will address it, or as it interests me. And then finally, even putting that aside, right? Put aside the first shot just for a second. Suppose, for the sake of argument, that the first shot was justified on the basis that this turning right car represented a serious risk of bodily injury or death, a risk of serious bodily injury or death to the officer. Deadly force needs to be accounted for, justified, whenever it's applied. Where does the self-defense rationale go for shots 2, 3, and 4? Statement from DHS. I don't think there is any possible justification unless there's some crazy set of facts that we don't know that those shots are justified. Oh, this is DHS's post. Today, ICE officers in Minneapolis were conducting targeted operations when rioters began blocking ICE officers, and one of these violent rioters weaponized their vehicles, attempted to run over our law enforcement officers and attempt to kill them, an act of domestic terrorism. An ICE officer, fearing for his life, the lives of his fellow law enforcement officers, and the safety of the public, fired defensive shots. Yeah, I mean, and then it goes on like that. So yeah, you have to be able to give a legal justification for the follow-on shots that happen after the officer is clearly outside the path of the vehicle which was always turning to the right, the vehicle which never represented a risk of serious bodily injury or death to the officer. And even if you thought that it did, you can't say this is her trying to run over the officers, or that she was trying to run over the officers. The balance of evidence, I think, is clear. She was trying to go away. She was trying to flee. That's what she was trying to do. If there's justification for the first shot, do you need separate? Yes, you do. Yes, you do. Yes, you do. Yes, you do. You need justification for every application of deadly force. Remember the Chauvin trial, folks. The Chauvin trial. What happened in the Chauvin trial? You needed to show that the hold was justified at every point in the hold. And so what's the question asked by prosecuting attorney? Prosecuting attorney says, do you think that it was reasonable to use this force after Mr. Floyd had died, after he was no longer breathing? Was it justified to use the hold even then? Answer no, right? When George Floyd stops breathing and is literally unresponsive, is it justified to continue to use the force? So no, you're not allowed to mag dump into someone just because the first shot is justified. Self-defense, imagine a timeline. It's like a timeline. And it's almost artificial in this way, right? It's almost like kind of artificial in that you're building a timeline and you're asking at second 1, at second 2, at second 3, justified or not under the circumstances. So the answer is yes, you need to analyze the separate shots. And courts do this as a matter of course. Can we see what Walls said? Wall says he's activating the. Oh yeah, sure. Let's see what Walls is saying. What the fuck? Stan Eminem? Oh, I guess I searched that when I was talking to Drew Pavlu. Can I go back?
Our bureau, unfortunately, and for us,
Okay, I'm going to show it.
the upside of this is that we're very good and we've had practice at this. And I just want
Fuck.
to
Show me.
again implore Minnesotans. I am not telling you not to express your anger or your frustrations or the
Show me.
used as a prop in a national political fight. Loved one.
And then I'll message Hutch as well. So make sure we're on the same page. And we have the Live and Learn crew. Holy fuck. Can you just play?
Condolences to the killed someone in Minneapolis. To the family, to the loved ones who had to learn about this tragic event on national television. We have been warning for weeks that the Trump administration's dangerous, sensationalized operations are a threat to our public safety, that someone was going to get hurt. Just yesterday, I said exactly that. What we're seeing is the consequences of governance designed to generate fear, headlines, and conflict. It's governing by reality TV. And today that recklessness cost someone their life. I've reached out to Secretary of Homeland Security Kristi Noem, and I'm waiting to hear back. Let me be clear. Donald Trump and his administration may not care much about Minnesota. That's been pretty evident. But we love this state. We won't let them tear us apart. We'll not turn against each other. To Minnesotans, I say this. I feel your anger. I'm angry. They want a show. We can't give it to them. We cannot. If you protest and express your First Amendment rights, please do so peacefully as you always do. We can't give them what they want. The hearts and minds of the people in this state are on our side. To Americans, I ask you this, please stand with Minneapolis. To Minnesotans, know that our administration is going to stop at nothing to seek accountability and justice. The State Bureau of Criminal Apprehension are working on the investigation. We have activated the State Emergency Operations Center. State Patrol and Minnesota National Guard leadership is connected with the Minneapolis Police Department, the St. Paul Police Department, Hennepin County Sheriff's Office, the DNR, and Minnesota's Homeland Security and Emergency Management. We have activated dozens of members of the State Patrol's mobile response team. And from here on, I have a very simple message. We do not need any further help from the federal government. To Donald Trump and Kristi Noem, you've done enough. There's nothing more important than Minnesotan safety. I've issued a warning order to prepare the Minnesota National Guard. We have soldiers in training and prepared to be deployed if necessary. I remind you, a warning order is a heads up for folks. And these National Guard troops are our National Guard troops. They're teachers in your community, they're business owners, they're construction professionals. They are Minnesotans. Minnesota will not allow our community to be used as a prop in a national political fight. We will not take the bait. We will continue to update you, Minnesota, as we get more information. Now I'd like to turn it over to Commissioner Bob Jacobson of the Minnesota Department of Public Safety.
Thank you, Governor. As the Governor mentioned, my name is Bob Jacobson. It is my honor to serve as the Commissioner of the Minnesota Department of Public Safety. First of all, I want to acknowledge the reason that we are all here. The loss of life is not anything anyone would ever want. We fully expect that the community will want to peacefully demonstrate their anger or frustration. Minnesota residents and visitors have the right to peacefully demonstrate. We recognize that demonstrations are often driven by strong emotions, beliefs, and certainly a desire to be heard. Our role is to help ensure everyone can express themselves without anyone getting hurt. The Minnesota Department of Public Safety's role through the Minnesota State Patrol is to ensure safety, protect constitutional rights, keep roads accessible, and above all, to prevent harm. Our top priority is public safety. Our focus is keeping demonstrators, community members, drivers, and law enforcement safe, especially during moments of heightened tension or uncertainty. Demonstrations must remain safe and lawful, particularly around roadways. We will join with our partners to support safety while respecting the right to protest. With that in mind, I'd like to share a few safe and lawful ways to demonstrate. Minnesotans or arrest any speculation.
And I think Commissioner Jay, that just, yeah, and I can let General Schaefer talk about this. It so happens it's a training weekend. We've got about 7,500 troops in training at our sites, training sites across the state. What it is, and in the National Guard, you give a warning order, which is a heads up of something could be coming. That just allows people to think about what they would need, what it would mean to mobilize, what it would mean to put them in. And I could let the General talk a little bit about this. Obviously, since the summer of 2020, we had a lot of work done on
Minnesota National.
But
All right, sorry, Walls is kind of boring me. I respect the fact that there is a great deal of, I don't know, emotion, and that people certainly have their views and they're welcome to express it or whatever. I would caution people to, in the Discord and in the comments and shit, abide by the rules. You can have different disagreements, all that stuff, but just like keep it in compliance with the rules. So in summary, I think that what we have seen is certainly enough to charge for murder of this officer, this one officer who took the shots. Why do I think that? I think he caused the death of another human being. He did so intentionally. And there is no like heat of passion or type defense that would knock it out of malice. And there's no justification. There's no self-defense rationale here that's applicable. He is not directly in front of the vehicle at the time he took the shots. He was off to the side of it. The car was turning to the right, not towards him. He would have seen it. He would have seen her moving the wheel. It's obvious to anyone who looks at that video and sees something differently. They're just telling you to not believe your lying eyes. They're telling you to confuse right from left. So when I say it's like they live in a different world, they literally live in a different world. Up is down and right is left. Oh yeah, the first bullet being through the windshield doesn't change that analysis, right? So understand what it doesn't change, right? The fact that the first bullet is through the windshield doesn't change the analysis of whether or not she's turning to the right or left. So can we at least agree she's not trying to run anybody over? Unless you're saying
that we have. Look,
anybody who is driving a car next to a police officer is trying to run them over. I don't understand, like, can we just get agreement on that, first of all? But he's standing to the side of the car, not directly in front of it. Even with respect to the windshield shot, he's not directly in front of the vehicle's path, and the car is turning to the right. It doesn't matter which way she is turning. It matters what position the officer is in relation to the car, not in the car's path, right? Where the car is intending to go, such that it would represent a threat to serious bodily injury or death. If there were an officer directly in her path of where she intended to go, then different analysis, obviously. But she is not intending to hurt that person or to run them over. He was not in any danger. That's the key part of the analysis. She's turning to the right, showing her intent not to put him in risk of serious bodily injury or death. That shows the intent. And in fact, he was not in risk of serious bodily injury or death. And then, even putting that to the side, the shots from the driver's side window, there's no justification for that. Zero. Why would intent matter? Intent matters, right? What a officer thinks someone else is doing. And the reason why, like, think about this, right? These idiot conservatives, it will absolutely, the intuition will click on the second there is a political side for them to take advantage of. So in the Rittenhouse case, what does everybody say about Rittenhouse states of mind vis-a-vis the person chasing after them? Is that Rittenhouse's apprehension of the intent of this person who's chasing him, that his awareness of his intent, that is to say, Rosenbaum chasing Rittenhouse, that is relevant to whether someone is objectively in fear of serious bodily injury or death, right? Someone who is approaching you while you're holding a gun, chasing after you, probably has the intent to actualize a state of affairs in which you are hurt or killed. So that intuition immediately turns on, right? You understand it in the context of Rittenhouse, don't you? In the context of Rittenhouse, oh, of course, Rittenhouse apprehension to the person's intent and their actual intent, as shown by it's all funneled through the person who uses the force's state of mind. But that state of mind is turning on what a person would think this woman's intent was. That the apprehension of fear relates to our perceptions of other people's states of mind. This is not unintuitive. Think about the Rittenhouse case, you fucking conservative losers. It's not unintuitive whatsoever. What a person in a self-defense situation thinks regarding someone else's intent based on what objectively thinks, not just subjectively. It's both a subjective and objective inquiry. The person taking the shots needs to actually think these things, and it needs to be objectively reasonable to think those things. Okay? So just saying, could they have thought this? Could they have thought that? Let's just get away from that bullshit. He might not know her intent, right? So there we go. Once again, stupid fucking chud conservatives. I almost said it. I almost fucking said it. Think for a second. It's not just subjective. It's objective as well. What would a reasonable person think? You would never accept, in the context of some conservative being shot, oh, well, the cop just thought that it was that this person was a hash slinging slasher, and there was no good reason to think it, and therefore it's self-defense, right? Just imagine this is a different political side, and all of a sudden all your intuitions will click. This is my recommendation for you. Just imagine the person being hit is a conservative, and the person being struck by the bullets is a conservative, and the person doing the shooting is Joe Biden's secret police. Just imagine that. And then all of a sudden, everything I'm saying will make sense to you. It will automatically make sense to you. I promise you. I'm not a conservative. And what are you? What are you? Come on. I'm a fucking bleeding heart liberal. All right, come on the stream. What is your point? The first thing you said is intent doesn't matter. Of course, intent matters as funneled through an objectively reasonable officer, which is what we have to consider. That's what self-defense commands us to consider. You were wrong about that, right? So let's just get through everything you were wrong about. Intent doesn't matter. It's relevant. It's relevant. He might not have known her intent. We take things not just from a subjective view, but from an objectively reasonable officer's perspective. You were wrong about those two things. So you've been wrong a lot, and you're yelling still. Shit Lord. Yeah, shit Lord. Let's see if Hutch has responded. No response from Hutch. Let's talk a little bit about some of the federalism issues. So the officer will probably be able to remove this to federal court. It will if the state does the right thing and charges murder. But that doesn't mean that it will be federal law that applies. It'll still be state if that happens. Fleet doesn't mean zero accountability. I don't know what you're talking about. Irrelevant. Isn't it a risk to others' lives? Is the person about to flee and cause a chase now? I feel like that. No, stop. Just fleeing, just attempting to flee with a car, with your body, isn't the analysis. Don't lose sight of it. You need to prove not just that it is, in fact, the case that this person could be a threat to others, could be, but that it's reasonably likely, that objectively reasonable person will think that this person is a risk of serious bodily injury or death to people. And just fleeing isn't enough to make that determination. Just fleeing. Just attempting to flee isn't enough to make that determination. In certain circumstances, high speed chase, going beyond the speed limit. After 20 minutes of a chase through residential areas, going on the wrong side of the fucking highway, then the case is okay, yes, then. But not merely enough to just try to evade the police. How many different cases of fleeing the police have we seen? Don't try to untailor the inquiry. The inquiry is, are they a threat of serious bodily injury or death? And mere flight isn't enough. Unless you want to say, if you try to leave the police under any circumstance, in any case, maybe you're saying, okay, with a vehicle, it's justified to kill you. Literally, did she put other people's lives at risk, intention, and severity? And I know USA doesn't care about what is the point. Like, if you don't care about the legal analysis, then just shut the fuck up. Who cares? Be like, I don't care. I don't care if it's self-defense or not. I'm glad that she's dead. My guy. We have someone else. The woman accelerated and hit the officer with her car when he was standing in front of it. How is that not a threat to the officer? So already you can see someone who is just not understanding the test. So many different things. So mere acceleration isn't us finding that someone is a threat of serious bodily injury or death. So the fact that you accelerate in a direction, right? You would need to show, right? She's accelerating towards the officer. She's accelerating. She's increasing velocity in one direction, namely a direction in which he is not in. If she happened, first of all, the video which shows that she made contact, it's blurry. I can't even get a good view of it. But even assuming she made contact, making contact, right? Contact at low speeds in a situation in which no person in the officer's position would feel that their life was in danger, that they're at risk of serious bodily injury. That kind of contact, yes, even with a fucking car, yes, even with a car, that contact alone, if it occurred, isn't enough for us to think that it's a risk of serious bodily injury or death. Not any threat constitutes justification for the use of deadly force. You have to start banning dumb fucks that are just lying about Hutch's position to troll or whatever. It's fucking, hey, Timothy Fuckface, I'm talking to you. How do I ban someone about lying regarding Hutch's position when I don't know the position, dipshit? I don't know Hutch's position. I listened to a minute of him talking. I don't know what he fucking said, dipshit Timothy Douglas 7375. So you want me to start taking, oh my God, moderate actions on a discrepancy or someone's interpretation of shit I haven't even fucking seen. That's what you want, Timothy Douglas? I should be banning people for lying about a thing that I can't possibly judge because I haven't seen the fucking Hutch's position. You gotta start banning dumb fucks that ask you to start banning dumb fucks. I'm trying to talk to Hutch. Let people lie about your boy. I don't give a fuck to be. I don't know what they're saying if it's a lie. How do I do it? Timothy, you tell me, how do I do it? Stop, everything stop. Stop being a little pussy bitch. Just like every other, because I invite these people to be moderators. I invite DGG mods to be moderators, and they say, no, I don't want to do it. So why don't you stop and tell me what you want me to do? So let's give Timothy Douglas a fucking wrench, and you just ban. What is your prescription? Tell me what you think I should do. I haven't seen Hutch's opinion. So any kind of negative criticism of Hutch's position or their interpretation of Hutch's position, you think I should ban someone for that? Tell me what you want me to do. Hutch is calling. Oh, great. Yo, what up, boy? How you doing?
Hey.
How's it
What's
going, brother? How you? Crazy day, huh?
Crazy day, yeah.
Yeah.
This shit can go real. It occurred to me like 10 minutes ago, but Minneapolis was like ground zero for the 2020 riots.
know.
And so
I know, and with the Chauvin case too, I think that there's a lot of parallels here that I think it matters a lot. But yeah, no, tell me your thoughts. What's your initial reaction?
the initial reaction was like the first view, I couldn't see shit because like it was, you just couldn't see the front of the car. And then I got a second video and my thinking evolved a little bit. Here, I'll just give you like my general thoughts. Like, I think that if officers are telling you to stop your car and get out of the car, you certainly don't reverse and you certainly don't accelerate if there's a police officer in front of your car.
Agreed.
That being said, there was one angle, and I don't know if you saw the same thing, but I have a mod in here that linked me video where somebody zoomed it way in and slowed it way down, and you got a clearer sense of the officer who shot where his feet were at.
Yeah.
And it sure does seem from that angle that he was basically clear of being in front of the car by the time he pulled the trigger. And at that point, it's like, how could you possibly think that there was like an imminent threat to your life?
Yeah.
If you were clear of the car. That seems to be like really difficult to imagine that he thought that. Now, like, you tell me what you think, but
yeah, I think that's right.
You know, human beings, there's like latency. There's like, you know, we make decisions and it takes us a second to actually act on those decisions. Do you think he's going to be able to convince a jury that even though he was clear of the car, like technically he made the decision when she was still kind of, because there is a moment where he is like right in front of her car and she starts to move forward. And I assume a police officer in that spot would probably tell a jury, at that point, I decided that my life was in danger. But then we slowed it down and it's like 4.5 seconds from the time she starts moving forward to the first shot. I mean, that's kind of a long time, you know? So that seems like quite a delayed fuse. Yeah. What are your thoughts?
No, I think that you have the right instinct to be like, well, I don't agree with a lot of other stuff that's kind of tangential to the issue. And I would like everything you said, I think I agree with, which is you shouldn't back up. You shouldn't you should like comply, right? Which is kind of our take. Like, I don't have a problem with you saying that. And then, yeah, I think your vision of what occurred when the first shot took place, that is that he was cleared from being in the path of it when the first shot was taken. That's my interpretation, regardless of whether there is a contact with the car at a low speed, bumping into him as she's turning to the right. I mean, that to me is not indication that someone's life is in serious risk of, or they're in serious risk of serious bodily injury. So yeah, I think our factual interpretation is similar. Even putting that aside, it's not just a subjective inquiry. We don't just ask, did I actually think my life was in danger? We have to see, is there an objectively reasonable consideration that your life was in peril? That's the question. It's not just a subjective test. It's also objective. And so regardless of whether he subjectively thought his life was in danger, we analyze it from the perspective of an objectively reasonable officer. And it is kind of like breaking down in a timeline the different events and what an objectively reasonable officer would have apprehended at each particular point in time. And so I think that with respect to what a jury will find, who the fuck knows? If there actually is a charge, maybe we can consider it then. If I were on the jury, given the facts I have now, I would be like, it's so clear that his life isn't in danger, that he's not at risk of any serious bodily injury, and therefore murder. But even putting that aside, even if you said the first shot was justified, you need to justify the other uses of force. You're not just allowed to use deadly force unlimited even if it were justified in one moment. You analyze that at every time it's applied. And so the shots where he's literally running alongside the car to do a coup de grace and shoot her in the head,
Yeah.
what justifies that? There's no self-defense rationale there.
Now, that's why I said like the delayed fuse kind of argument. And I'm not justifying that claim, but I'm saying like maybe he could make that claim. Because my understanding is that with police officers, as soon as you determine that someone is a threat to your life, the public, the lives of like someone in the public or a fellow officer, the moment that you decide, I think technically they're supposed to empty their entire fucking magazine. Like they're trained to kill that person. And so like the first shot, I don't know if you saw, but the first shot went through the bottom, like if you're facing the windshield, and went through the the bottom right of the windshield. And then the next two shots were on the side. Mm-hmm. So like, I don't know, would you get in trouble for those side shots if that was a continuation of you deciding that the person needed to be killed?
So
like, I don't know if there's precedent for this. I don't know what the regulations say.
So the precedent is at every point in time, you analyze whether the force is objectively reasonable or not. That's what you have to do. And just because you make a decision at one point in time, that doesn't mean that we don't analyze further uses of deadly force, or we just consider it one thing. And that's regardless of quote unquote training. You know, suppose that he would like think about who would be doing the training now. Just because it's the training of the officers to do a particular thing doesn't mean as a matter of law that the officer's use of force is objectively reasonable. If that were the case, and all it would take is like you to write in a manual, we are allowed to shoot anyone who doesn't comply immediately with our arrest, just because you were.
Yeah, but we've seen this 1,000 times though. I feel like the public gives broad, sweeping deference to police officers. Like how many times have we seen a police officer claim, I felt like my life was in danger and there were no charges? I feel like that's happened 1,000 times.
Hutch, what did you think I
right
was
or
saying?
Wrong, I'm just saying.
What do you think I was saying? I wasn't saying that people don't say things or people don't give deference to cops when their feelings or whatever. I'm just saying as a matter of law, the mere fact that something is in a manual or part of training doesn't mean that it's an objectively reasonable use of force in the instance in which it's applied. And I'm not aware of any precedent that says, well, because deadly force is justified in one moment, it was therefore justified in the follow-up moment. You would need to run an analysis about that follow-up moment. At the time he used the deadly force for shot number 2, at that point in time, was it objectively reasonable for a cop in his position to think that his life was in danger? That's what I'm representing the precedent to be. But I think
but the crucial moment of analysis though is when the cop determined that he felt like, or when he will claim that he felt like his life was in danger. And that moment would have been
moments. Why do you think it's only one?
Well, the moment I'm talking about is the moment the cop decides, okay, my life is in danger. And then they start to take an action, which is pull out their pistol and then, release fire off several rounds or something.
Yeah, I'm asking why you make that one moment as opposed to moments. Is what I'm representing is that every use of deadly force needs to be justified when for the respect to the specific use of force. And I'm asking why are you consider that one and supposed to multiple?
Because I'm saying that is the crucial moment that will be evaluated if this ever goes to some kind of trial. So, like, first of all, can the state arrest ICE agents?
Yeah, why not?
I don't know. You tell me. Has that ever happened?
Yeah, there have been federal officers that have been charged with crimes before, state crimes. They have additional privileges. They can try to remove to federal court, and he'll likely be successful at that, to remove to federal court. But yeah, there's nothing preventing a state sovereign from purporting to give charges to the federal officer in performance of their duties. The question is going to be whether or not the charges are like preempted by federal law or should be brought in federal court or whatever it is. But yeah, that's allowed. But I just want to like focus in on what we were talking about. You analyze the use of force whenever it's deployed.
But that's like a separate kind of analysis, right? Like there's the moment that the cop decides or determines whatever, my life is in danger or the lives of my fellow officers are in danger. And then that moment, there's going to be a slight delay between, you making that determination and then you actually acting. Human beings we don't act with like perfect, like as soon as the thought comes into our brain, there's like a slight delay, right?
Yeah.
So like but as soon as you make that determination, you're making the decision, okay, I'm going to shoot this person until they are dead. Like that is how the police are trained to handle those kinds of threats. I'm going to pull out my gun. I'm going to shoot this person until they are dead. And so
while they're still a threat, right? Wait. While they're still a threat.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. Exactly.
And not when they're not a threat. You're not that. No one is taught to fire at things that are not threats.
See, but so I'm not telling you this is how the law is. I'm actually asking the question.
Okay.
Like, I don't know. I actually don't know if like the first shot going through the front and then the other two going on the side, is that still like a lawful use of lethal force in that situation? Because he's still like he has made that choice, and
I don't think any of them are. No, yeah,
you fire a gun like pretty fast, right? And so it's like pop, 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 like, and you're still in the kind of act of like firing those shots. As soon as the car turns and he's out of the way, he still could be, like plausibly acting on that same instinct, that same impulse. Like he's still like that. That's that one action. So, but again, it carries through just that moment.
Not just subjective, objective. So it's
of course.
Okay, got it. So
but I'm saying I don't know what the law says about that.
Okay. So here's what I'm representing to you: that you are not allowed to use deadly force on people who are not threats or who haven't. I'm carving out areas where sometimes if they've recently committed a certain qualifying felony, you're allowed to shoot them as they leave. Like if someone is fleeing murder, you're allowed to shoot them. Okay. So putting that aside, because none of it is applicable here.
I didn't even know that.
There are some cases in which you're allowed to shoot people for when they're fleeing, just because they're fleeing, if there's like a qualifying crime. But that's not an issue here. So
what if they don't have a gun though? What if they're unarmed?
Yeah. So yes, even then. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So there are certain things. There's certain justifications for use of force. It relates to threats, but in the case of here where the only claim is imminent self-defense, let's just deal with that. That's why I'm only talking about that. In the situation in which someone is not a threat, then you are not a qualifying threat. You're not allowed to use deadly self-defense. Agreed?
Yeah. Well, I mean, I assume you tell me. You're the lawyer.
Well, I'm telling you that. Yes. Yeah. With respect to self-defense,
I'll take you at your word.
You can't use deadly force if an objectively reasonable officer wouldn't, at the moment, perceive a qualifying threat. If they're not, when I say they're not a threat, when an objectively reasonable person would not think that they're a threat at that moment. Right? So if you shot a bunch of things at a person who you reasonably thought was some kind of, who was about to shoot at you, then they raise their hands and they show that the black thing in their hand was shooting, right? Even if it's a half second after, and you perceive the walkie-talkie, you're not allowed to keep shooting. Agreed?
Yes.
Why is that difficult?
Like the second, are you saying like, so the second,
I'm not applying it yet. I'm doing the hypo. Yeah.
You're saying like the second that you know full well that it's not a gun, it's just like a radio.
Right.
The second any shot after that would not be justified. That's what you're asking me?
Yeah. It would be one thing if you're like, this person could not have perceived, they still thought it was a gun, or by the time they fired it. Right.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah, I understand.
But if the person is in a position such that they can reasonably perceive that the car is or that any given situation is no longer a qualifying threat, and they can't invoke self-defense principles.
Well, I'm just imagining a defense here. Like, can you imagine a police officer saying, I didn't know, maybe there was a cop behind me? You know what I mean? Like maybe there was another cop behind me, like doing backup for me. And like, could you imagine that defense working with the jury?
Imagine the defense working for the jury.
Obviously, like the cop says, like, obviously they tried to run me over and I didn't know, maybe there was a cop behind me. And so I thought, like, I just acted on, felt like that was the thing.
Let's not talk about jury.
I'm not saying, by the way,
I don't know. Jury's a crapshoot. Okay. So like, let's just talk about me. So, or whatever. But let's not just get into jury because I'll be like, okay, fine. Yeah. You can trick a jury. You can tell a jury to whatever. But like, let's just talk about me. Could the officer be like, well, I thought he was a risk to someone else. Well, it can't be behind the car because the car isn't going backwards, right? You can't say
behind the cop, still in front, possibly in front of the car.
Okay, so you say, well, I shot him because there was a cop in front of the car as well, right? Or I thought there might have been.
Yeah, I'm just imagining. Maybe they'll say something like that.
Well, I think that's very unlikely because we can see what he can see, right? Like we can see that there is no other cop or ICE agent in front of the car, and B, that at the time he's shooting, he would have the wherewithal. He would be able to see that there's no one in front of the vehicle that he is trying to, I guess, protect by killing the woman who's already shot, and the woman who, how would it actually prevent the car from hitting the person by shooting it? I don't even understand. No, I don't think that given the facts, we have to assume an objectively reasonable officer from the position of the shooting officer. And given what we know, there's no reason to think that an objectively reasonable officer in his position would would be able to see some other officer or think that there's some other officer there, because there is no other officer there. And because there doesn't appear to be one.
Just to like play this hypothetical out and make it as strong as possible, if you're going to pick holes in it, if the cop is super focused on the driver and they're only looking at the driver in that moment. In fact, I slowed the footage way the fuck down, and so the car is going back, it's going back, and as it's going back, the guy who ultimately shot steps. You can see him step in front of the car. I think I couldn't see because it's still obfuscated. He put up like his left hand to say stop, and his right hand was positioned right next to his pistol. He hadn't taken it out yet. As soon as the car started moving forward, that's when he pulled the pistol out, and it was about, again, like 4.5 seconds after that, before the first shot rang out. But before all that, what you can see is there are 4 police that kind of converge on the car. There's the one that was trying to open the car door. There was another cop behind him. There was the cop that ended up taking the shot. He steps into frame eventually. And then there was another cop in the back, like if you're looking at the car from the back, on the back right of the car. And so the cops instinctively, obviously they didn't like literally coordinate in real time, but they moved kind of in unison to like back up each other. That's just kind of how they're trained. You could imagine a situation where the cop who fired the gun might say, well, I didn't know if there was somebody behind me because I was purely focused on the driver.
Yeah, so let's not talk about what you imagine someone could be saying, right? Let's just think about the actual inquiry. What would an objectively reasonable person in the cop's or in the ICE officer's position, would they X? So do that. Don't just say, what could you imagine him saying, right? I can imagine him saying anything. But let's just focus on the inquiry. Would an objectively reasonable officer in the cop's position do X? That's what you should be talking about. Like, let's make the question not, could you imagine him saying this? Could you imagine them saying that? Let's just go right to the inquiry. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yes, but I'm a little confused as to why. Like, I'm just asking questions.
Yeah. So to answer your question, I could imagine him saying that. Wait, so I'm going to answer your question. Okay. I could imagine him saying that.
Okay.
Is that a helpful answer?
I'm sure. I'm just having a normal conversation.
No, but I'm trying to focus you on the thing that matters the most, right? Like, yeah, I could imagine him saying that. I could imagine him saying that I saw in her eyes that she was an Antifa super soldier. I could imagine him saying that I was thinking about ducks. I could imagine him saying a lot, but I'm just like trying to move us into a productive inquiry, not about what we can imagine the cop saying, but what we can imagine the cop arguing that's relevant to the analysis. That's why I was like, well, let's not frame it in terms of what the jury would think. Let's not frame it in terms of what he could say. Let's just frame it in what he could argue given the actual standard. You get me?
Yes.
Okay.
I think he likely will. Like, I don't know. That to me seems like a plausible argument he might make.
So when you say plausible argument, you mean that an objectively reasonable officer in the cop's position, in the ICE officer's position.
No. Wait, hang on. Like, what I'm saying is, we have 1,000 times in this country seen police officers when they face any kind of accountability for an action like this. We have all seen 1,000 times that the laws as they're written when it comes to qualified immunity, or the kind of leeway that the public gives police officers, is extremely broad. And they oftentimes are able to get off scot-free for this kind of thing by citing like a really kind of like vague, abstract like threat. is what that's the purpose of like me asking these questions. I'm not trying to like pick holes in the idea that I think he acted improperly, because like the best information that I have right now leads me to believe that shooting, there's no possible way he could have thought that his life was in danger. And so then my mind just goes immediately, okay, so if that's what the evidence shows, that very clearly he can't say that his life was in danger, then my mind wonders, okay, well, what could he say instead? And then I think, oh, okay, maybe he thought, maybe he could tell a jury that I didn't know. Maybe I had backup behind me and she tried to run me over, and like, so I took the shot.
Yeah, like, so you're saying that you think that it wasn't justified use of self-defense. So we agree on that. And
yes.
all right, cool. So we agree on that. That I think is, folks, the most important part. The part where you're saying is like, you think that he might get off unjustifiably, right? Because you don't think he should get off because you think that this is murder, right?
Based on the best information we have
available
now,
right now, right?
Yes, that's what I'm inclined. It's like I told Chad, I'm like 95% that this looks bullshit, but just enough, like 5%, because the angle is like just as obfuscated.
Oh wait, then you would probably vote not to convict. Wait, if you think it's 5% likelihood that it's justified?
Well, if this ever went to trial, we would have access to like everything. If they're wearing body cams, then we would know that.
Okay, well, like enough to charge him, enough to charge him certainly, and for us to like hear. Yeah. Okay, cool, got it. All right. So what's remaining is, in your mind, what you think he could say or they could argue that would unjustifiably let him off scot-free, right?
Because there's no question that she starts driving the car forwards. Like the whole situation, again, that driver, I think, the situation obviously escalated just literally in a matter of about 6 seconds, escalated to a life or death situation. But I think, unfortunately, that woman, not that she deserved to die, but that woman, I think, made a horrible decision, because what happened was they gave 3 orders that I heard, and maybe there were some orders that I didn't hear, but there were 3 orders. Get out of the car, get out of the car, get out of the fucking car. She starts backing up as soon as the cop starts to pull the door handle to try to get the door open. She starts backing up. The cop steps in front of the car and she starts moving forward. That, I think, alone is going to give that cop a lot of leeway. Because at that point, he could just say, well, she started driving forward, so how do I know that she wasn't like intending on running me over? Or how do I know that there wasn't a cop right behind me?
I'm lost touch. I don't know what you want to talk about. So I thought that you agreed that, yeah, he could say that, but you'd be like, that's ridiculous. Wouldn't you say that's ridiculous?
In terms of, based on what we've seen, like, probably yes, that would be ridiculous. But I don't know why you're.
I don't know. Are you? No, I'm not in debate mode. I'm trying to agree with you.
You are though. You're like, no, but it sounds like you are.
I'm not in debate mode, bro.
You're like, why are you bringing that up? I'm like, I don't know, bro. I thought we were having a conversation about what's happening right now.
I don't. I'm trying to agree. Yeah. So it's actually the opposite. I'm trying to agree with you. I'm trying to show my chat, hey, like the most important stuff we agree on. And then when I hear you say things like, well, I think that he has a lot of leeway by saying, I don't know what he's going to do. I guess the point the reason I'm like, I don't know what you're trying to argue right now. Are you trying to say that you agree with him or?
No. But I do think her decision to ignore their orders to get out of the car and to back the car up and then drive it forward with a police officer in front of the car, I think that decision ultimately could give that cop enough that he needs to not face any accountability for this. And I'm basing this off of
unjustifiably, like it could unjustifiably give them. Okay.
Yes. Yeah. Just to clarify, yes.
Okay.
And that, in my opinion, that would be unjustified because I do think he did not shoot her lawfully.
Oh yeah.
Like, I don't know how you could,
okay. So this is me not being in debate mode, trying to agree with you. Yes, her bad decision to drive off instead of stopping gives way more latitude, by which we mean just a way for him to unjustifiably claim that it was self-defense. Yes, I agree with that. So it's literally me not being debate mode. Just be like, but yeah, if all you mean is
like if he's on the stand, yeah. If he's on the stand, he's going to say, my fellow officers gave her 4 or 5, verbal. We'll say 3. I heard 3. I heard my officers give 3 orders to get out of the car. I held my hand up, told her to get out of the car. She put the car in drive and started driving towards me. At that moment, I was unclear if she was trying to run me over or if I had an officer behind me, and I made a decision in that moment to protect myself and my squad members or something. Like, that cop is probably going to get off at that spot, right?
The cop shooting?
Yeah.
No, I don't think so.
We'll see. I don't know. I've seen cops get away with this kind of stuff 1,000 times.
I don't think. Listen, right now,
1,000 times. All they have to do, all that cop has to do, is convince a jury that at a single point in time, he felt like
at multiple points in time, at multiple points in time, not just singular.
Multiple.
Multiple.
Are you nitpicking me right now?
No.
Like as soon as but listen, as soon as a cop decides my life is in danger or the potential lives of my fellow police officers are in danger, as soon as they make that decision, they are going to act to kill that individual. Is
that a descriptive claim? They are going to? The question is
they are trained to, rather. So that point in time is like, that is why that point is so crucial. Like, all he has to do is to tell a jury, she started driving the car towards me. I didn't know she was going to run me over. Even though I got out of the way, how am I to be sure that there wasn't an officer behind me backing me up? And so at that point, I decided to act. Like, we have seen cops get away with this kind of stuff. Like, I feel like their threshold is like pretty low. The threshold of just like the cops, they can be wrong. Like, they can be wrong about something being a credible threat to their life. Like, we have seen the exact situation that you're talking about, where somebody holds up their hand and it's a radio and the cop thinks it's a gun, and the cop shoots that person and they don't go to jail because they thought there was a threat to their life, right? Like, we've seen that hundreds of times.
I have seen cops get off a lot for shit that is fucked up, for sure. But I've also seen cops get punished for use of force. Derek Chauvin. The cop the cop who shot into I don't know if it was the cops that killed. It was the cops that in the Breonna Taylor situation who got charged with who they didn't actually shoot Breonna Taylor, or it was one of those cases where they just shot randomly into like a bedroom or some shit. So cops also go to jail for unjustified uses of force. And if your question is all else equal, will the cop be able to get off on this? Is that your question? Regardless of whether we think right now it's justified?
It could be a question. It's more, for me, it's like, I'm like 99% sure. Just the fact alone that her car was moving forward towards him at any point, like, that alone is going to give him so much leeway with a jury, if he even faces charges.
Yeah, what did you think about the Chauvin case before Chauvin was convicted?
I watched him kneel on the back of a man's neck for 7.5 minutes while he was begging for his life. I mean, that feels like a very different situation here.
I know, but he was,
that seemed Floyd was clear cut in that.
Floyd was high on fentanyl. Floyd was resisting arrest. Floyd was struggling for a long part of it. But what they said is, at every point, force needs to be justified. You don't get to just say, well, at one point force is justified and therefore it's justified for the rest of the time. Now, in that case, you might be like, okay, well, that seems like a more obvious unjustified killing or whatever, for sure. No doubt. I'm not saying that you can't, but just remember that they're going to have to justify those after shots. That is beyond the first shots. They're going to have to justify why they shot those.
I mean, I just gave you what I think would be extremely plausible way to.
So how do you justify the after shots? It's because there might be another cop behind him.
Yeah, exactly.
Wait, but that proves too much. There needs to be a reason he thinks that there's another cop behind him, right?
Well, he could claim to have a perfectly justified reason.
What would that be?
I just told you, when you watch the footage, you see 4 cops converge, and they all kind of instinctively take different positions. There was one cop towards the back of the car. There was one cop approaching the driver's side door, one cop positioned behind him, and one cop positioned in front of the car. They all instinctively moved. You don't obviously they weren't calling out walkie-talkie positions towards each other. They just started moving. So all the cop has to do is say, for all I knew, there was a cop backing me up behind me. And I didn't want to take that risk because this person had already indicated they might be willing to drive over me.
I think I'm starting to understand, but let me just
You tell a jury that, they're going to be like, well, I don't know, maybe it's bullshit, but I could kind of see that. And then like that's all, and that's all you need to get acquitted as a cop, right? So,
I'm trying to understand it. You pretend to be the ICE officer, okay? And I'm the I'm the examining attorney, and I say, Mr. Hutch, this is a shot that you took after the car has passed you. You agree with that?
yes.
And at this point, you would agree that you're not in any threat of being harmed by this by this car. Agreed, Mr. Hutch?
Yes, but this was milliseconds after I began shooting, and so it all
just
happened
answer
so
the question,
fast.
Mr. Hutch. Just answer the question, Mr. Hutch. So you would agree?
I'm trying to answer your question, counsel.
You'd agree at this point in time, you specifically, you were not in any risk of serious bodily injury or death. You'd agree with that, right? It's past you.
I do, but hindsight is always 20/20, especially when we have the benefit of watching it in slow-mo and I'm making decisions in real time that happen in a matter of like a half milliseconds.
So, sir, are you suggesting, sir, that at the time that this happened, after the car is past you, when you're aiming through the side window, that you thought it was possible that your life was in serious, that you actually felt that your life was in serious risk of bodily injury or death?
Yes, and potentially the lives of one of my fellow officers.
Even though the car was heading off into another direction, even though the woman was already shot, and even though you were not in front of the vehicle in any sense.
Counsel, we are trained to kill if we assess a threat.
I'm going to ask the court to strike as non-responsive. Just going to ask the question again, Mr. Hutch. At the time at which you are, this is you, correct, running alongside the vehicle?
I would say that I'm not running alongside the vehicle here. You can clearly see that I've actually lost my footing.
So when you are aiming the gun there, you saying you're aiming while your footing has been lost?
Yes.
Okay. And so is this you walking adjacent to the car to get a better shot at a target?
Wait, what video did you watch? When did he walk alongside the car? Hold on.
He runs alongside the car, Hutch.
Hang on. Oh, that's the loogie one. Where's the better one? One of them is like there's this guy that hawks the biggest fucking loogie like right before it happened. Smudge, where's that slow-mo one? I just want to remind.
He definitely walks in front, Hutch. So is this you taking steps next to the car?
Hold on, let me look at the slow down one.
He takes like 4 or 5 steps alongside the car.
Hang on. Is this the one here? Oh, whoa, hold on. Oh, he definitely takes a few steps there.
So let's go back to our role play.
Yeah.
Okay.
Uh-huh.
This is you taking steps alongside the car, right?
Yes.
Okay, so you're keeping for a few split seconds there. This isn't you losing your footing, correct, Mr. Hutch?
Yes.
Okay. And as that's happened, is it your testimony today that you felt as you were taking those steps and aiming your gun into the driver's side window that after the car you'd agree is past you, correct?
That is correct.
That you specifically were in threat of serious bodily injury or death. Did you feel that?
That is correct, but I was still acting off of the same instinct that I made in a moment's notice.
I see. Okay, so let's pause right there and we'll get back into it to get the other rationale.
I
think that's uncredible. I think that's uncredible as an answer.
Hang on. I just want to make this clear real quick. I am giving the fucking absolute most steelest of man arguments
it's a role
here.
Play.
I am not literally like defending this cop. I am just telling you like what can he convince a jury?
Yes, I understand. It's a role play.
Let's assume he's guilty. What could he possibly say to get off scot-free? That is the purpose of this exercise. I just want to clarify that, but go ahead.
No, I appreciate that. Yeah, Hutch is taking on the role right now of the defendant. But by the way, I think it's very unlikely that he would like take the stand. Maybe he would. Who knows? I guess Chauvin did. Chauvin did. So actually maybe he would. But do you see how that answer plays? if you try to claim that your life is in danger when you're running for the shots in which you're running alongside the car, even for just
It's not just your life, though. That's what I'm saying, though.
No,
it's not just your
I
life.
know, but
I feel
we're
like
just focusing on the
I
testimony.
feel like
Holy shit, Hutch. We're just focusing on the testimony you just gave in the role play. Okay? So,
but I already told you, I don't think that he has a credible claim to say that he felt like his life was still in danger. I already agreed with you.
No. But the test, that's what I mean. Like, if he tries to say that in that moment, I think that's just like unclear. So the only thing is like, is some other justification other than his defense of himself. And I think you and I agree with that. Okay. So now let's get into that role play. All right. So, you think that your life was in danger. I heard you. Based on this video, I understand that that's your claim, but you also, on direct examination, you claim that you felt that other officers were in danger as well, didn't you? Wasn't that your testimony on direct examination? Okay.
That is correct. Yes.
And which officer did you feel whose life was in danger when you took these other shots?
I didn't have any particular officer in mind. I observed two of my other fellow officers positioning themselves around the vehicle to support the officer that was trying to execute the arrest. And I wasn't sure if there was an officer standing behind me doing the same for me.
Okay, these next questions are going to call for a yes or no. And if you feel like you can't give a yes or no, you can just tell me and we can stop there, okay?
All right, I'll just say yes or no.
Officer Hutch, at the time you took those shots, did you see any officer in the car's path?
No.
Did you hear any officer that you identified would be from the direction of where the car was going?
I couldn't be sure. There was a lot going on at the time. People were screaming, lots of footsteps.
Were you aware of any noise coming from the direction of where the car's path was?
No, I can't tell you with 100% certainty.
Did you believe, I'm going to ask you straight up, did you believe that there was someone in the car's path?
I believe that it would be possible that somebody would be in the car's path.
Not what I asked you, Officer Hutch. Listen to the question again. At the time, did you believe that there was a person in the path of the vehicle?
I would say I was unsure.
So you were unsure about whether there was someone in the path. That's your testimony today on cross-examination?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
And based on that lack of certainty, you made the decision to shoot the vehicle, correct? Or shoot the passenger in the head. And why did you feel that shooting the officer, or that shooting the decedent in that context would be helpful to eliminate a threat that you were uncertain about?
We are trained to kill people, use lethal force if we decide that they potentially pose a risk to our own safety, the public safety, or the safety of our fellow officers.
Did you feel that shooting the decedent in this context would have alleviated a threat to the public?
Yes.
Why is that?
I don't think dead people can drive cars.
Okay, but you didn't actually have evidence here. You can't point to anything that made you affirmatively believe that there was someone in the path of the vehicle, or it was just you were shooting on the possibility that there was someone there. Fair?
That's correct. Yes.
I don't think that sounds good, Hutch. By the way, I don't think that's. I think that
you're the lawyer. You tell me. I don't know.
I mean, but juries are made up of individual people. If you just say like, because it's possible.
Let me ask you. Do you think that an experienced lawyer could convince a jury that police officer could have reasonably thought that there was an officer behind him backing him up?
No.
You don't think so?
Not unless you can point to a reason why someone in a position would have thought that. But there's no reason to believe it.
No. They're trained to do that. What do you mean?
Officers are trained to go behind each other?
Yes, they are trained to like encircle each other and provide like a perimeter of support. They're literally trained to do that.
So every officer assumes that there's an officer behind him? I don't know why that is.
No, that's not what I'm saying.
Oh, sorry.
Like every officer though is trained to move into support, and you do that by like you don't do like a dog pile. You don't do like link arms and walk up together. But officers are trained to back up their fellow officers, especially if you see a situation escalating to the point where now somebody's like driving a car when they're trying to get into the car. You don't think that officer could convince a jury that
could? Okay. Ask the question that you want to ask. Ask the question you want to ask. You want to ask if an officer could convince?
Yeah, that's the question I
Yes,
want to
an
ask.
officer.
Do
An
you
officer could
do you
convince
think a
it.
lawyer? Do you think a lawyer could convince a jury?
Yes, a lawyer could
that
convince a
the-
jury.
All right, there you go. That's why I think that he'll. I don't know if this person's going to be charged. If they do get charged, I don't think they're going to have a terribly difficult time not facing accountability. Because if you concede that, if as a lawyer you concede that, it's very likely that a lawyer could convince a jury that the officer reasonably thought that somebody might be in harm's way.
In virtue of
And that's the
what?
case.
In virtue of their
That's the whole
training?
case, right?
In virtue of their training that someone was behind them? That's it? But no testimony as to there actually being the person there. No testimony to him seeing the person there. No testimony to him hearing a person there.
Because
no testimony to any
do-
sounds coming from that direction. Just the training
because all
alone.
Yes, because all you have to do at that point is say do you dispute this? Did the driver start driving the car forward when there was a cop in front of the car?
Yes.
Okay. At that point, all you got to do is say, thankfully I got out of the way, but in that moment, she demonstrated that she could potentially be wanting to kill me. Therefore,
Yeah, but you didn't think your life was at risk. And you just said that would be unreasonable, even if he claims it.
No, hang
Even
on.
if he claims
the moment
it,
she
unreasonable.
no, a jury for sure is going to let that cop get away with that. The moment she started driving her car forward, they are for sure going to give him the benefit of of claiming that he felt like for a moment his life was in danger.
Yeah, how do you
Thankfully,
know
I was
that?
able to sidestep to driving your car towards a police officer
It wasn't-
after they've given you
wait.
instructions to stop.
No, the person was in front, but the car wasn't driving towards the officer. It was
What do you mean?
it was driving away from the officer. She was trying to get away from the officer.
Pisco, there was a moment in time where the police officer who shot that woman was directly in front of the car, and she started to pull that car forward with him in front of the car. At that moment, I think her bad decision to do that is going to give him plenty of cover.
Plenty of cover meaning
Because at that
amount to win? Is that what you're saying?
Plenty of cover to claim the perception of a credible threat. At that
Successfully?
point, because
Yes, he can claim it successfully. Okay, so such that a jury would be convinced?
every jury in America is going to be like,
Okay,
well, if a car's driving, you don't.
I have a different apprehension, but
maybe
even I have a different apprehension.
Maybe I'm jaded.
but-
Maybe I'm jaded. Maybe I'm jaded.
I have
here,
a different
but
apprehension. And by the way, don't bring up qualified immunity in this context because we're not talking about civil cases. So just don't bring up qualified immunity. But I happen to think differently. But even putting that aside, we're talking about the other shots.
We are, yeah.
Okay, so those shots where he's not in front of the car, those need to be justified. Those could have been the shots that killed her.
Correct. Yeah, sure.
And they probably contributed to her death in a
I would
significant
assume
way.
so.
Yeah, so those shots need to be justified.
hmm
So the question is, what would justify that? And all I have from you, from the perspective of objectively reasonable officer, is the possibility that an officer or a person is right behind him or right in front of him. Or actually, it's not even behind him at this point. It's in front of the vehicle. It's just a possibility. Not that he actually perceives one, because of course no one's there.
Maybe you have more faith in American juries, but
No.
I have
Let's just
seen...
get out of the jury room. Sorry, just get into your head right now. Do you think
Okay.
an objectively reasonable officer, from the perspective of that ICE agent, would think that there is a person to his left in front of the car's path? He's standing. I mean, it's peripheral vision. They can see.
I mean, no, peripheral. He can't see behind him. What do you mean?
No. He's up to the side of it. I mean, look at this. Hang on. I'm gonna look at this tweet. Or I don't know if you can see.
I've broken this down frame by frame.
There's no one in front of the car. He has clear sight of everything in front of him.
He is in front of the car, and all he has to do is tell a jury. And now I couldn't be sure that there wasn't an officer behind me trying to provide backup. And I feel like he would get off scot-free.
No, when he takes certain shots, there are officers behind him. They are, but it's just in the opposite of where the car is.
I don't think there's any officers behind him. What are you talking about? Where?
Look at this image.
What image?
You need to justify the shots when he's lateral to the car. those are the shots that also need. By the way, I think the first shot
Yeah,
isn't
but
justified, but these shots are
but
definitely not
yeah.
justified.
We're circling the drain here. I mean, like you, I think the big disconnect here is, I guess you don't think it's plausible that he could convince a jury that it would be justified because
Wait,
he didn't.
Didn't you hear me when I said, don't talk to me about jury?
Okay.
I don't know why you're saying like, oh, because the takeaway is going to be Pisco doesn't think a jury is going to acquit him. Pisco's so sure they're going to vote to convict. That's going to be the takeaway. After I said, please, let's not talk about jury. So I don't know why you're bringing up jury again.
I legitimately have no idea what we're arguing about.
I'm trying to understand it too. Are you
Okay.
convinced that are you convinced that it would be reasonable for an officer to think in this person's position to think that there are people in front of the car as he's taking these shots from the lateral of the vehicle, such that he would be reasonably justified in shooting the car to prevent anything bad happening to them?
I don't think it is unreasonable to say that a police officer in a situation like that would not necessarily know if he had another police officer behind him providing backup, because like his focus is entirely on the driver. Like he literally cannot see behind him. Like I'm not saying that this police officer was completely competent or justified, but I also think that it is completely plausible that there could have been a police officer behind him that he did not see providing him backup. Would you disagree with that? Like, do you think that there are times? Hang on, no, you don't. There's no way. Do you think that there are times where an officer is in the course of some sort of altercation with somebody in the public and they're not aware that they have backup behind them?
Are
do you think
there
that's possible?
wait, so when you're asking possible,
yes,
you're
has
asking,
that happened?
It has happened.
Has that happened?
It has happened before that cops have cops behind them that they're not aware of.
Yes.
Okay.
That's what I'm talking about. Okay. Great. There you go.
What do you think that has shown?
What do you mean? What kind of question is that? I gave you the hypothetical defense. He might say something like, I thankfully I got out of the way, but I took her moving forward as an intention to kill me. And so I acted on instinct. And, I was making sure that she didn't drive over any other officers that might've been behind me. There you go.
Have there been times in the past where officers have not been behind a cop?
Yes.
See, there you go.
What? What are you talking? That's not the point though.
I'm trying to arrive at the point. Just because there are times in which cops are behind officers without them knowing.
Wait, hang on. Do we even agree? Like, you're the lawyer. You tell me. Okay, I'm going to defer to you. Do we even agree that could be a defense? Like, could an officer tell, or could the officer's lawyers tell a jury that the officer was acting on impulse and had no knowledge if he had backup behind him?
Yes, they could. But they merely could. Yes, they could. They could say anything. They could say that they're dragons places, and they could try to do that defense. They could try to say that there are unicorns in front of them. They could try to. No, there's no precedent for dragons or unicorns. They could say things that have precedent.
But is there? I'm asking, is there a precedent for this? I imagine something similar to this has happened.
What with respect to what? Officers shooting people in cars? Yes, that's happened before. I don't know what you're asking, Hutch.
I'm asking you, has there ever been this attempt at that kind of a defense? That's what I'm asking.
What kind of a defense? Defense of others? Yes. Defense of other fellow officers? Yes. That has happened before.
Can you take it down like 7 notches?
I'm not taking it up, bro. This is me. I'm
why
normal.
Are you so no, but you're full on in debate mode right now.
I'm not. I promise you I'm
you
not.
Are.
I'm trying to agree with you.
You're being so sassy.
I'm not sassy.
Yes, you are. I'm asking you, like, has there ever been a time where a police officer shot a driver and the police officer was positioned in front of the car, but they got out of the way and they still fired shots and killed the driver and then used this as a defense?
I have no idea.
That's what I'm asking. That's it.
No, I have no idea if that has happened before specifically. Whether people have marshaled defense of others or defense of other officers' defense, I'm certain that that's happened before. The question isn't whether there is precedent of situations in which officers have argued things. The question is, on these facts, what do we think is plausible? That's the question, right? What do we think is plausible?
But I already asked that. But I already answered that question.
Right. So
I think this guy was incompetent in his application of lethal force. I think this guy he clearly hesitated. So like he pulls his gun out, and it takes him 4.5 seconds to shoot the gun. Like he might have even shot this fucking gun because like he made contact with the car and his fucking finger went off, and then he just full sent because he accidentally discharged or something like that. Which that doesn't make the situation any better. So like you don't need to convince me based on what I've seen, the angles that I've seen, that this was a massive fuck up. I'm just the only thing I'm saying is like I, as an American, have seen police officers get off scot-free.
I agree with this.
Simply because they convinced a jury that they felt vaguely, like there might be a threat to their life or the life of their fellow officers. And I think in the case of this woman, her driving that car forward when he was in front of the car is going to make his case like a lot easier, unfortunately, is what I'm saying.
Well, I agree with those. So I agree with the statement that there are cops who have unjustifiably got off on things by claiming self-defense. I agree with that. I agree that this woman's conduct has increased the likelihood that the cop will be able to claim self-defense. All of that is stuff we agree on. See, I'm trying to agree with you, Hutch. I'm not trying to disagree with you. I'm just trying to understand the point. But you don't agree. I just want to make sure that people get the right impression of your view. Your impression is that this wasn't justified, and that the follow-on shots are also not justified because it's not justified for a cop in this officer's position or a nice officer agent in this position to think that the use of force is justified by the rationale of defense of other officers. You don't actually
correct
think that. Okay. And you don't actually think that it's justified for defense of self, correct?
Correct.
You're just saying that the conduct at issue and some of what's happening will make it so that he has a easier time to argue in court that it is.
Yes.
Okay. Then I think we're aligned. That's what I'm trying to do. When I do these clarifying questions, it's not just fucking pummel you over the head. It's just to see what your point is, bro. I'm just trying to understand your position. And it looks like we agree on the things that matter.
My point was that I think that this officer is probably not going to have a difficult time getting off.
That I don't know about.
I led with, when we started this conversation, I led with my opinion that I thought that this was not a justified shooting.
Oh no, I agree with that. But you
snapping at me doing your lawyer tricks.
No, because you were saying something like, don't you think it's plausible that a person in their position, like a cop in their position, would think that there's an officer like behind him? Because
could. I said could. And that's all you got to do to convince a jury. That's it. All you got to do to convince a jury is just say like, listen, as officers, we move into positions to back up our fellow officers all the time. This woman clearly started to drive their car towards me while I was in front of it. I am trained to identify a lethal threat. Thankfully, I got out of the way, but
why don't you buy that?
On my instinct and training because there could have been an officer behind me.
But
whether or not he actually believed that at the time. Why don't I buy that?
Right, because if you bought that, then you would say that it's justified. I'm just questioning why you don't agree with that analysis.
It just seems unlikely because he delayed. I don't have perfect information here, but he pulls out his gun as soon as she starts driving forward. But he doesn't fire right away. In my opinion, he would have been like way more justified if he fired like right then and there. But he hesitates, and so like there's something in him that was like, something like if he was really eager to shoot her, he would have shot like right then and there. But it's 4.5 seconds of her pulling forward, and he manages to slip out the side, and then he still takes that action. At that point, you do move past the point where there's like a credible threat. And I think in this case, very clearly, like we did get past that point. There's just no way you could plausibly say like I still thought my life was in danger when I was on the side of the car,
or that someone else's was, right?
Yeah.
I think we're aligned. No, I would just misunderstand. So when you were saying the stuff about, well, what if the officer trained behind him? It sounds like you were saying you might be convinced by the argument that the subsequent shots were justified on a theory of defense of others. That's what I thought you were saying.
Yeah, but I feel like I demonstrated that in our conversation because I got you to say that like a lawyer could tell a jury that the officer wasn't aware if there was a supporting officer behind him, and after the suspect or the victim started to pull the car forward, immediately then he identified that she could potentially want to run over a police officer. And so he acted in out of fear that he had a supporting officer behind him. Like, I feel like that's all you have to do in that spot, and the jury's going to be like, I don't like it, but technically, yeah, right.
You're like, you admitted that they could say that. Do you understand when you ask something could happen? It is just a very low bar. Like, it could be the case that a lot of things happen. It could be the case that Trump dies today. It could be the case that Trump becomes a Democrat. Like, these are all things that could happen. So when you ask, like, you admitted that a lawyer could say that. I don't know what you think that I'm saying there. What do you think that I'm suggesting?
I don't know. I'm just saying that's why I think. Do you disagree that cops have gotten off from lethal force by convincing a jury that all they had to do was that's what I'm talking about here. As soon as you drive your car forward, you're giving that cop a lot of ammunition to make any number of defenses that could potentially sway a jury.
I agree. That could potentially sway a jury. Yes, I agree.
Yeah.
But driving forward,
all right,
could potentially convince a jury. But I thought the question
could easily convince a jury.
By could easily, you mean it's likely it will?
Yes.
Oh, I don't know about that. What's the justification for that? That it likely would.
Driving because I've seen cops get off for way less in terms of like suspecting like a credible like threat to life than a car driving towards a cop when, knowingly, like, I assume she saw the cop in front of the car, right?
I'm assuming that she saw the cop in front of the car.
That was in front of the car, yeah.
As she was turning away from him, yes.
Well, okay, so just to be clear, for about 3.5 to 4 seconds, she is just driving the car, like, as the wheel, like, even before it's turning, she's driving straight just for like a period of like 2 to 3 seconds.
No,
the wheels haven't even turned at that point.
I don't know.
Wait, hold on. I can show you the. Hold on, I can show you the frames. Yeah. Hold on. Yeah, it's about 2 seconds where her wheels are still straight, and then they turn like literally right before he fires the gun.
It's like a second and a half. Hang on.
Yeah.
Okay, so
that's what I'm talking about. That second and a half is so crucial.
So if it's not 4
seconds.
It's
so pivotal. It's so no. The 4.5 seconds was the time between the moment she started driving forward to the second that the shots ran out.
It's not 4 seconds. Yeah, so it's like a second. So hang on. So she starts driving forward in this clip I'm watching. At 11 seconds. The shot happens at 12 seconds. And change, maybe.
Wait. Hang on. The clip that I'm looking at, hold on.
Make sure it's not sped down.
She starts so hold on. The clip that I'm watching, it's right before the 10-second mark that she starts driving forward. Okay. Okay, wait, hang on.
I have her advancing at 11 seconds.
Okay, yeah. Hold on. You're right. It might have been, hang on. It might have been 4 seconds from the time she starts driving backwards. Maybe that's where I got confused.
Okay, yeah, but then that's the wrong denominator because we shouldn't consider the time when she's backing up.
Yeah. I think you're right. It was like 2.5 seconds after she starts driving forward. Let me just double check that. Hold on.
It's like a second.
I'm going to fucking literally time it on my phone. Hold on. I'm going to just time this as best as I can. Let me back it up a little bit. All right. It's less than 2 seconds.
Yeah, definitely.
Imprecise measurement here. It's like 1. 5 seconds.
I'll time it on my phone too.
1.5
I'll time it on my
seconds.
phone. I'm not trying to get you, dude. I don't know why you think this. I'm trying to
No,
align with you.
No,
Bro.
I'm just.
Hang on one sec.
But you're
I'm not.
you're being incredulous, or you're being, I don't know what it is, pedantic or lawyer brained.
I don't think I am. One sec. Okay. So here we go. Backs up. All right. So forward motion starts at around there. Let's see. Let me just back it up and I'll just start stop when I see it.
Wait, is it against TOS to not mute there?
I have like 0.8 seconds between when the forward motion starts and when the shot goes. I muted it, but it's very quick, and
But
no
you see
one's
what I
life's
mean?
in
Like if you look at
danger.
the wait, hold on. I mean, I agree. Like in hindsight, I agree. No one's life is in danger, but that's actually kind of doesn't matter. The only thing that matters is that the cop needs to convince a jury that he had a credible fear that his life was in danger. Just
Yeah,
the same
an
as
objectively reasonable fear.
Sure. And so that the moment she started pulling forward, there is a brief moment of time, very brief, where she is driving straight forward and there's a cop in front of her car.
Right, but the cop
That
has seen her turn the wheel to the right. The cop has seen her trying not to run him over, right? She is furiously turning the wheel to the right after she just backed it up. So the cop has seen this.
No. Hang on. Look at the hold on. I don't see what you're saying. Like aggressive, like furiously turning the wheel.
Well, she would have had right. So she backs up, and the wheels are oriented towards the officers, right? Because she's backing up. She's backing up to the left, right? And the wheels are oriented towards the cops. And then to get the wheels towards the right, she needs to start turning the wheel. So she would have had to, and the cop would have seen that.
Right. Yeah.
Right. So the cop.
Yeah, but you're saying she's like aggressively turning the wheel. I think you just made that up. Like I don't know what you like the wheel that doesn't look like an aggressive wheel pull to me.
No,
but when I'm looking at this, I'm like, dude, just step out of the fucking way. Like obviously she's not going to run you over. Like that's my thought when I look at this. But all he's got to do is convince a jury. Like how am I supposed to know her intent? All I know is she's driving her car towards me and I'm in front of the car.
Okay.
And all he has to do is convince one person on that jury.
Do you think I don't agree?
That's enough?
Do you think I don't
that's
agree?
enough to qualify?
Do you think I don't?
No, but that's my whole point. That's all I've been saying this whole time.
So you think I disagree with that? That all he needs to do is convince one juror that
who the fuck knows? What are we arguing about?
I'm trying to define the scope of it. If you're on that jury, you're voting to convict, aren't you, based on current facts?
Probably.
I thought you were
probably. But if a judge tells me like all you need is just what is it? What is the threshold? Just like any doubt whatsoever. Doubt. Is it reasonable doubt or is it just any doubt whatsoever?
Reasonable doubt. Okay. Might be a difference. It might be the burden on the state to prove beyond a reasonable doubt that that it was not justified. After there might be some burden shifting in Minneapolis, Minnesota, or something where the burden shifts to the government at that point in the murder trial. But just remember that. The thing is, like,
I feel like I have dozens of times seen cops get away with lethal force by claiming just a very just shred of a possibility of a threat to their life. And in this particular case, where the car like moving forward, that is not going to be terribly difficult to convince a jury to acquit.
All right, that's your position. I'm kind of like not sure what the jury's ultimate determination is. I just know like what I think. And what I think is that this is bullshit and that there is no reasonable fear for a serious bodily injury or death based on current available evidence. That's my position. Now, you can say I've seen it happen before that juries will believe any shred, whether reasonable or not, and they just buy the rationale.
Dozens of
I'd
times.
probably agree with you there. So I don't think we have a disagreement there. But the question is like, what would you say on the jury? And you're like, well, I probably would convict. It's not based on current available evidence. It's your position that you would convict, right?
Based on the current available evidence, like I don't know, I would want to see. I would want way more. I would want to hear testimony. I would want to, if they had body cam footage. I don't know if I would feel comfortable voting to convict, and just based on the few videos here.
Based on what you've seen here, based on the videos that you've seen thus far, based on currently available evidence, do you think that he murdered her?
I think he acted. I think he was. I think that this lethal force was not justified, whatever the reason. If it was incompetence, if he there could be like a few different reasons why that trigger got pulled. But if like. So what does reasonable doubt mean? Like, so if I say like, I'm like 95% sure that this guy was can absolutely not make a claim of,
you're really close.
Like
yeah. You're really close.
Right.
To
is that reasonable? Was it, or does it have to be like 100%? Like, I don't know what I'm asking seriously because I don't know.
It's not 100%, 95 to 99. There are differences of opinion. I would think that 5% is a reasonable doubt. That's me.
Would it be? I mean, is it out of line for me to say that I would want like more evidence than just the few videos that we just watched? I feel like I'd be a responsible juror to be like, I just want the most amount of information.
I know because like we would want like a bunch of foundation. Who is this woman? Who is this cop? What were they doing that day? How many officers were there? What did the person know? Did he know there was backup there? What did he?
Are they familiar with her?
Yeah.
You know,
so like, is there? So yeah, I agree with you. Like in an actual case, we would want more foundation. We would want like to establish who these people are. We would want like a bunch of other stuff. We'd have like some kind of forensic person look at the angle of the shots. And by the way, I'm seeing some shit right now, which is like the angle where the first shot happens is like right in the right corner of the windshield. It's an insane.
Yeah.
That is not good for the ice agent, in my opinion. Just saying, it's like right to the bottom right. It's not like right in front of her. And it almost looked like it would have missed her. It almost looks like that. Now I don't know that to be the case. I'm not sure.
It depends on the angle, and also apparently. So I'm being linked in the chat. There's a senior current DHS official. That seems crazy. Is this like who is this person? Julia Ainsley? Are you familiar with that name?
No. It's a woman.
They posted, or they made a statement. The way ICE officers approached the vehicle involved in today's shooting was counter to their training. A senior DHS. Oh no, this is the journalist reporting on it. A senior Department of Homeland Security official told NBC News. And I guess they're not on the record. Is this off the record?
Probably.
The official said ICE officers are trained never to approach a vehicle from the front, to approach vehicles or possibly armed people in a tactical L 90-degree angle to prevent injury or crossfire, not to shoot a moving vehicle, only use force if there is an immediate risk or of serious injury or death.
Yeah.
ICE officers were also instructed that firing at a vehicle will not make it stop moving in that direction of the officer.
Yeah.
That seems relevant to the conversation we're having.
Well, yeah. Well, that was the other part of the question I was going to ask in our little mock-up, which is like, why do we think that if he thought there were a person in the direction of the car in which it was traveling, that would be a reasonable, the person
that would remedy the situation?
Yes, exactly.
Yeah. And if that's what their training is, then no. Then I guess goes that.
But you're putting too much into the training. Fuck the training. These guys could be getting new training from Steve Miller. The training isn't what is dispositive. Could it be relevant? Sure, because all else equal, we tend to think that law enforcement generally has a better sense of how to deal with these situations than the average person, no doubt. But what you can't do is give it dispositive weight such that if it's in accordance with training, therefore it's okay, or if it's not in accordance with training, therefore it goes away. We need to think about this like real fucking men, Hutch, right? We gotta really just like work the analysis like a fucking timeline. And at every instance, what do we think an objectively reasonable officer would do in that situation? Not just based on what the government itself says or objective reasonable standards. They don't get to define what the law requires. That's ultimately a question for the courts and a jury. Yeah, you're right. Ultimately, a jury to decide.
Here, let me let me give you a counter argument to my own argument. Like, let me give you, so I said, he could possibly say that he thought that there was somebody behind him. And even though he got out of the way, that
You have to
could
stop.
potentially
Hutch, I'm
be-
sorry. I'm so sorry. You have to stop. When you say possibly, you need to just clarify. He could possibly say, are you talking about mere possibility? You need to really clarify what you're saying. He could say this.
Stop. Hey, let me
You have
finish
to.
my
No,
point.
you have to clarify. I don't understand what you're talking about.
Yes, you do.
No, I
Can
don't.
You imagine
I literally
yes,
don't.
You do. Can you imagine a lawyer defending their client who's this officer who shot? Can you imagine a lawyer making that case to a jury saying the officer could not be sure that he had a supporting officer behind him?
Yeah, I can imagine Trump's lawyers arguing anything. Wait, Hutch. Will you say could?
Stop talking. Okay. So I'm going to make an argument against that now. You made me lose my train of thought with this fucking lawyer brain
no,
shit.
it's not. No, you
You're
have
doing
no.
it.
I don't.
You're throwing me
Hutch,
off.
stop.
This is intentional.
Hutch.
You know
No,
I'm
it's not.
scatterbrained, and you're
Hutch.
fucking with me.
No. Hey, stop. I can get us back where we're going. When you say things like, "Could you imagine a lawyer making this argument?" Do you realize that as you're asking the question, all you're asking is it possible a lawyer could make that argument? That's a useless question. You're trying to say successfully, right?
That's
convincingly.
Yes.
No, but you need to say that.
Imagine I'm saying plausibly. You're being so fucking pedantic right now.
No. Oh,
Stop. You know what I'm trying to say, for Christ's sakes.
I literally don't.
I was going to undermine my own, like, oh, is this possible, with a thought, and that thought is fucking gone because you distracted me with this lawyer brain bullshit.
No,
imagine if I say that. Imagine I said, can you plausibly, imagine
him.
Lawyer,
imagine him making that argument.
Okay.
No. But even that, right? Yes, I would imagine a lawyer making that argument, but that's not what you want to ask.
Okay.
You want to ask it with like where it would be
implied.
effective. Where it would be effective.
Yes.
Okay,
that's implied with what I'm saying. Everybody understands what I'm saying.
It's not implied because when people say,
of course it is. Why would I bring that up in the course of this conversation if it's not implied?
There
Do you think I'm just having random conversations about nothing?
So,
like, imagine if the sky lit on fire tomorrow and all the atmosphere is gone and we all just like floated off into space.
Yeah, because there are a ton of reasons why you might use could, by which you mean like mere possibility. There are a ton of reasons where you could do that.
I am obviously engaged in a conversation with you on my end about the potential for this cop getting off without experiencing any consequences. And I'm imagining like what those arguments might look like in a court and what could potentially be used.
Okay, that's different, right? Yeah.
But that's the context of the last 45 minutes of this discussion.
No, what you just said, right? Like, I'm trying to imagine what arguments they would come up with. That is different than saying that they would be likely successful or good chance at successful, which is where you want to get to.
It is implied.
I promise it's not.
If I say I'm trying to imagine what the defense lawyer is going to say in court, it's obviously implied that whatever that lawyer is saying is going to say that thing to try to get their client off.
Not to try to get the client off, but
obviously implied.
No, Hutch, it's not. I promise you, it's not implied that when you say.
Why else would I bring it up then? Like, give me one other explanation.
Yes. So you could be bringing up an argument that a lawyer brings to say that it has a low likelihood of success, but they could argue it and they might be successful in a low.
But you already.
Wait, stop. Let me finish it. So you could be bringing up an argument that a lawyer could bring that has a low likelihood of success, but a significant chance of success, but it isn't overall likely. That's a scenario in which it wouldn't be likely, by which we mean like greater than 50% or something approaching that. But it is something that a lawyer could bring, and it's just a different level of probability. So I
already told you that I think that the way that this event played out is going to make it pretty easy for these defense lawyers. So my position is that I think these lawyers are probably going to have an easy time.
Better than not?
Coming up with something. Yes, I think it's better. I think the odds are better than not. This cop is more likely than not that this cop is not going to like go to jail for this just because of that one action that driver took of driving forward.
Yeah, I don't have a strong view on that. And the sort of backup for that claim is because you think that a jury will see that initial acceleration as and give them a ton of leeway, right?
Because that moment alone, the cop can just very easily say, if I'm standing in front of a car and the car starts driving towards me, I have to assume that they might be intending to take my life.
Okay. And even though you think that's unreasonable, you think that might be that it's more likely than not will be successful.
Yes.
Okay.
Because that is such a low threshold already, and as soon as you introduce something like a how much do cars like that weigh? Like 2,000-pound car moving towards you after you've instructed them to get out. That any defense lawyer in the country, I think, is like pretty easily going to convince a jury that it is plausible that he perceived that as a threat to his life or his other officers' lives.
Well, so when I was getting clarity, what we were talking about was the direction of the bullet going through the windshield, possibly missing the person ultimately, but maybe not, depending on the angle that it was being shot. That's when I cut you off. We were talking about the initial
I think
shots.
the point that I was making, like the thing that maybe like hurts like his defense is like if he actually, okay, now I remembered what I was going to say. Like if he actually did have that thought, like if he actually did like, oh my God, the car's moving forward, I might die, one of my other officers might, like why did he wait how many seconds was it? Why was it delayed? Like why didn't he fire like right away? Like you can see in the video, it's very brief, but he does hesitate.
He hesitates to shoot after it accelerates?
Yeah. It takes him like a moment, whatever that moment is. You did your calculation, I did mine. Maybe it's officially like around 1.5 or whatever seconds. But there is a slight delay there. If he actually had that thought, like, oh my God, I might die or another officer might die, he would start shooting right away. But he doesn't do that. Like I think you can kind of see him kind of like, there's a moment
like
of kind
that
of
delay
pause,
is him
right?
just grabbing the gun. Maybe I'm missing it.
There is a slight delay. Hold on. Where's the video?
It feels like he very instantly gets his gun and then shoots after the acceleration starts. It's a pretty quick draw, I feel. But you can tell me if you think differently. I've never fired a pistol. I've only fired long guns.
So the moment he draws his pistol is the moment the car starts moving forwards. I don't know if you saw that, but like his hand is on the pistol.
Yeah, and then
as soon as that car starts rolling forward, that's when he pulls it out. There's a slight delay there.
It's very brief. Yeah.
But nonetheless, it's like you're trained like if that's your instinct, like, oh, you might die, you're trained to pull out and just start shooting right away. So what was that delay all about? I think that implies
that he didn't feel after the initial that's a good point. That's a good point.
Yeah.
That's a good point. That is to say, if the initial acceleration he didn't shoot right away.
Yeah.
And he just
I think this like I would be much less certain about like saying I don't know if he was in the wrong if he just started firing like right away as soon as she started moving forward.
Right. So
in that case,
when the shot happens, he's clear.
Right?
Yeah. When the shot happens, he's clear of the car. Yeah.
Yeah. But you agree, right? Like if he would have started shooting like as soon as she pulled forward and he was not clear of the vehicle, this would be a very different conversation, right? Like surely you would agree that he would be way more justified in that moment, right?
I think he would be more justified. I still don't think it would be justified.
Yeah. Well, basically saying
I don't know. The moment she accelerates, even though she's clearly going to the right, even though he's off to the side of the vehicle, I understand that he is like moving himself in front of the vehicle such that it's possible that she'll make contact with him, but not in such a way that would likely cause serious bodily injury or death. That the moment she hits the gas, you think that you would have a dispositively different view about whether he just drew up the gun there and shot her as she presses it. I don't think I would agree.
Well, now I want to know, like, so there's this, the article says that the senior DHS official said that they're trained to never approach a vehicle from the front. So now I want to know, like, this has to have happened before. In a country this big, like this has to have happened where a car started moving forward when a cop was in front and then there was a shooting.
Yeah, let's look at I'll run some searches.
I don't even know searches. Where to. Yeah, do you have like
not
Nexus Lexus thing or whatever?
I have access to some ways to run some searches for sure. But keep in mind the self-defense analyses are very, very fact specific. Like we know just because a jury came to one determination one time, it doesn't like bind future incidents that have different facts. Like there are plenty of these kinds of cases.
there could be lots of different variables that change the analysis.
Yeah. I hope that you don't think that I'm trying to like fuck with you in this conversation. Is that your impression?
You get into a certain mode sometimes where you I don't know if you call it nitpicking. I don't know if you call it what's the not gish galloping. There's a tactic there's like a rhetorical tactic where you pick apart stuff that is not really material to the discussion.
I'm trying to understand your
attempt to
point,
do that.
Hutch. So when I do that, it's just so that I can understand you, and so that we can clarify. I don't want it to be like Pisco disagrees with Hutch on this, because people are saying, go debate Hutch, he has this crazy view. I'm like, I don't really think he has a crazy view. And so I start the conversation.
What happened was the first video that I saw, you couldn't even see the front of the car. I was like, I don't know what happened. So like, I have no idea what to make of this. The second video comes out and it looks like from that angle that she like drove straight into the cop. And that's when he fired. I was like, guys, this looks like pretty justified to me. Then another video happened where I was like, oh, okay, it's a little bit murky. And then they zoomed in and slowed it down. And then I was able to see what, because of the cop's like position of his feet, like he was very clearly like clear from the car. And at that point I was like, okay, this doesn't look good.
Yeah. So all I'm trying to do is, I'm not trying to like debate. I'm trying to be like, hey, looks like we agree. And when you say something and I'm like, well, wait, is he just saying what a jury could find or what a lawyer could say? Is he saying could say plausibly such that a jury might believe it like with some level of chance, or just kind of do a fucking Hail Mary, or does he mean could successfully argue? And that's why I'm trying to clarify the scope and modality, is to respect you and understand you. Afterwards,
but I made myself clear
afterwards.
No. I told you several times throughout the course of this conversation that here are the things that I think would make it easy for the defense to get an acquittal. I said that so many times throughout the conversation. So you knew what I was saying when I said that.
First of all, in any particular instance, if I don't understand what you're saying, I'm going to ask for clarification, even if you used a separate modality before to refer to some other thing that we were talking about. That doesn't mean that you're going to apply that same modality in other different examples or things as they could arrive. So just because it was the case that
I think that's a bit contrarian / pedantic / whatever.
It's hang on. If I don't understand what you're saying, when you say, could a lawyer argue this? People use that differently, right? You have to acknowledge this. I just want you to acknowledge this. That's
why I say that I think sometimes you're a bit incredulous. That's why I use that word. It's like, because I don't understand how you couldn't believe that.
To acknowledge that when people ask, couldn't his lawyer say this? That question is open to many different interpretations.
No, everybody understands that if somebody asks that question in this context, what they mean is, couldn't the lawyer say this and get his client off? Obviously, that's what I meant.
And
everybody understands this.
So you think that that's what you meant, as opposed to could he argue that and have like a reasonable chance, as opposed to one that is like more likely than not, one that is overwhelming? Couldn't he argue this, and isn't this like doesn't this win the case, as opposed to just decent chance? Those are very different interpretations of, yes, it refers to some level of probability, but
all right. Well, I want to, there's like apparently a back and forth going on with Asman and Hassan. Are they speaking with each other right now, or are they just?
You can go to that. I gotta go in a second anyway.
I'm going to tune into this.
Yeah.
I'm going to stop this conversation because I'm having a headache, but I enjoyed it.
Hey, love you, Doug. Be good.
Love you.
Jesus Christ. Honestly, sometimes it really does feel like there's like an allergy to, like, he just wants me to assume what he means, even though it's obviously open to all sorts of different interpretations that each would be reasonable. Could his lawyer argue this? Yeah. Like, is there some justification under the law to argue this? That is one way that you could mean. Like, is this something that he could argue without being sanctioned, argue where it's relevant to the inquiry? Could he argue immunity? Well, he could argue that, right? Could he argue it such that it would win, right? That's different. Could he argue it such that he would have a shot? Could he argue it such that, right? So there's so many ways that so, and me just trying to clarify the view as a way to agree. It's just insane. Absolutely insane. And do people just like repeating the conclusion, Hutch was absolutely clear? No. It's just not a clear question unless we're accepting that. Could a jury find this? Couldn't a jury say that A, B, Z, C. Imagine if I said no, a jury couldn't say that. Imagine that, right? Imagine that if by disagreeing with Hutch, I would say, no, a jury couldn't find that. And someone hears that and clips it. Oh my God, Pisco said a jury couldn't find that he did self-defense justifiably. Like, you guys are so crazy. Right? Imagine that. Imagine that in responding to a could question, where he's talking about a good chance of winning, right? Could a jury find that this was justified? And I say no. Can you just imagine that? I want everyone who's saying he was super clear to acknowledge that, right? If he asks a question by which he means like a good chance of winning, and I just assume that that's what he means. And so the question and answer are this: could a jury find that this was justified? And I say no, assuming what he meant to be good chance. And the answer is yes. But what if that's not my view? Right? So what if my view is no, that on the specific argument about defense of another, that is the police, where I don't think a jury has a good chance to find that argument specifically is going to hold? What if the answer is no, a jury couldn't find that? By which I mean it's not a good chance. You know, you see the issue, BJ's cool, you fucking loser? That when I say a jury couldn't find that, it sounds like what I'm saying is they either don't have the authority to find that or couldn't possibly. I don't have to admit that the could question generally refers to plausible, not possible. No, I actually don't. Usually it's the opposite. Usually we're talking about mere possibility. Mere possibility. Could you become a lawyer? Yeah, I could. Could you start upstream? Yeah, I could. It's so crazy. These people are like, they get triggered by clarification, where there's an obvious interest in me clarifying so that I'm not misunderstood when I'm answering a could question with respect to what a jury is allowed or is likely to find. It's debate purgatory. It's debate mode. It's so stupid. It honestly, absolutely dumb. And where's this guy, BJ's cool? He had no response to that. No response. Then the answer is yes. All right, so we're going to continue on this line. BJ's cool. So here's the hypothetical. I haven't forgotten it. BJ's cool. No, I don't honestly. He's simply asking if a jury can basically see the cops as not guilty. If it isn't a hard question to ask, it literally goes, what's going to happen if it goes? So, all right. So this is the hypothetical. So the question for me is, could a jury find that this is justified? And I say no. And BJ's cool is like, yeah, that's cool to answer that way. Even though if someone clips that and hears me, it sounds like what I'm saying is a jury is going to definitely find him guilty. You understand that? You understand that, BJ's cool? This loser fuck, BJ's cool? This dumb motherfucker? You understand the problem? That if I assume the modality of could, and there's ambiguity, not necessarily to Hutch, but to the listener, even. I don't give a shit about clipping. Okay, very nice for you. Very nice for BJ's cool. So he's like, don't worry about other people misunderstanding you and you saying something and people clowning on you. And you'd be like, no, you don't understand. When I said could there, I was talking about the modality that Hutch was referring to. And Hutch the whole time was talking about a reasonable juror and what they would likely find. And so I would, very, very cool for BJ's cool. You don't have to worry about that. Guess what? Guess what I do, dipshit? Dipshit BJ's cool. This fucking loser BJ's cool. BJ's cool. I don't ever want you to watch this stream again. Out of the comments. You can watch it on Twitch and Kick. That's it. I'm not going to ban you from the chat, but I just know I don't want you around because you're too stupid. Low IQ. Low IQ. I would expect that you care more about having a conversation with your buddy and being generous than rather. No, but it's also to clarify for the fucking audience. It's a conversation so that he clarifies. I clarify. We all clarify. We'll be clear. It shouldn't be a thing of being triggered, dipshit. BJ's not cool. It's not about it's about making sure everyone is clear so he understands what I'm saying, so that my audience understands what I'm saying, that I'm not saying the jury couldn't find, because if I say a jury couldn't find that, and all of a sudden the jury finds that, I look like a dipshit. And also, the audience is like, wait, but Pisco said this, and I expected the jury to find him guilty. What the fuck, Pisco? And then I had to be like, no. I know that I said they couldn't find this, and I know that it sounds like that, but let me just explain. In the dude, so stupid. So fucking dumb. BJV lets me know. I know the guys. I have to go in a second, folks. The most obvious number. Yeah, I know. The question needs to be clear. And the fact that there's not a good response, the only response is like, don't care about you saying things that are potentially misinterpreted and reasonably misinterpreted, right? Not like unreasonably misinterpreted. If I say could, by which you mean like the power, right? Could a jury find this? Could a lawyer argue this? Do they have the power to without consequence? Could can mean so many different things. You understand? Could mean mere likelihood, mere possibility. It could mean logical possibility. It could mean plausibility. It could mean reasonability. It could mean more likely than not. It could mean successfully. It could mean have the actual authority to. These are all the different things could mean, by which I mean it's possible for it to mean. Merely possible. And reasonably possible. Someone could say a jury couldn't find that to mean they don't have authority to find it. They could mean it couldn't find that because obviously I would be able to predict what a jury would say and they wouldn't find that, or they'd be instructed not to. Absolutely owned on every account. My clarification completely justified. Your argumentation, BJ School, completely fucking undermined, completely debunked. You debunked. And my entire approach in that conversation, so people are aware, was to agree with this guy, was to agree with my boy Hutch. Absolutely to agree, to put to bed the comments in my chat, to be like, oh, Hutch has this insane take, to try to be like, look, we're aligned, look this. And even where that is my conscious object, to make common cause with a liberal brother, nonetheless, there are people who say, debate perpetrator, give me a fucking break. Was there an ICE agent in front of her car? People saying there was. Like, she was going to hit a guy in front, not the one by the window. I don't know. By the way, what does could mean in the context I'm using it in the last sentence, or do you need 1,000 clarifying questions? What was your last sentence? I don't even know. What did you say? Loser. I didn't see your last sentence. Yeah, if you don't understand English or have no comprehension at all, then could mean all this. No. Do I have to pull up the definition of could? Definition could. All right. I love this. Hang on a second. Wait, how do I do this? Oh, perfect. Here's the definition of could from Google. Okay. Here we go. So could is a form of the verb can, right? Can is, it could indicate possibility, used in making polite requests, indicate annoyance because of something that has not been done. They could have told me. Used to indicate a strong inclination to do something. I could scream. Can meaning be able to through acquired knowledge or skill, have the opportunity or possibility to, referring to possibility. You used to express doubt or surprise about the possibility of something being the case. Used to indicate that something is typically the case. be permitted to, right? That's the context. It was like, could a jury be permitted to make that? Used to ask someone to do something. So yeah, I mean, it could mean a lot of things. It's not just one definition, clearly. It's referring to can. Can you say this? Are you able to say this? Yeah. I have to go, unfortunately. I have to go do stuff. But I love you guys very much. Next time you see me, I might be able to stream tomorrow pre word war debate, but I think I'm traveling tomorrow too. So yeah, maybe I'll from the hotel room or whatever. They want me there early. So I'll see you on the road, if not tomorrow. Much love.